Hello, hello, hello. How are all my pre-K teachers doing this morning? I hope you guys are doing amazing. So today I wanted to talk about the importance of having your core values. So we've been talking about like classroom environment and making sure that our physical environment is on point and that you have an emotional plan to cultivate the emotional environment in your classroom. And I wanted to get into really structuring the classroom um, environment, which leads to the classroom culture, right? So the type of environment that you have in your classroom, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, the type of emotional support that you have or lack of emotional support that you have, um, contributes to the type of classroom culture that you begin to cultivate in your classroom. And so this is super important because many times we run into issues with management, with transitions, with flow, because we don't have a good framework in place. And now that we're still in the summer months, but we're still a couple of weeks out from school, it's important for you to begin to think about your core values, or what are the core values of your classroom. Now, if you are a part of a school that already has core values or have like tenets that they go by or that the school goes by, what you can do is you can take those core values that your school has and you can break it down to simpler messaging so that your students will be able to understand it. Sometimes sometimes the school may have, um, you know, tenets like humility or empowerment and, aspiration and things like that, that might be hard for a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old child to understand what that actually means. And so what you're going to want to do is really try to break those down into simpler versions of those words. You can, kind of maybe Google it to see like what's a simpler way to say, you know, uh, I don't know, acknowledgement or whatever it is, whatever those values are that your school has. Just try to figure out a way to break them down into a simpler form so that you can give it to your students. And when you break it down and you give it to your students, it's not going to be all at once either, right? So literally the first few weeks of school is the time when you are teaching them the different values that your school has or that your classroom has. Now, if your school does not have like a set of goals or a set of tenets that they go by or core values that your school goes by, then you're going to have to develop those for your classroom. And you need to start with what's valuable to you, right? So and then also, consider what's important for the kids, right? So safety is a core value. Like we need to be safe when we're here. um we need to feel a certain way. How do we want to feel when we're in school, right? And so you have to reflect within yourself, okay, what's important for me in my classroom? What's important for my students in my classroom? What do I want for them when they're in my classroom? And when you start thinking about and reflecting about those things, then you will be able to come up with your own set of core values that you will be able to build your classroom framework or foundation on. A pre-K classroom is just like building a house. Yeah, it's just like building a house. You need a solid foundation. If you don't have a solid foundation, the house is going to collapse. And the foundation is one thing, but then you also need a solid framework in which to put the walls up on. You can't put the walls up. You can't just throw walls up with no framework, right? And so as you go forward and as you're preparing to teach your class or as you're preparing for your students, you have to really um, decide what your foundational values are and what are the frameworks that you're going to use to build your classroom environment on, because environment is everything, but at the same time, it's more than just what the student walks into the classroom and see or smell or hear, right? It's more than just the toys on the shelf or the lighting or the decorations that they see up. The vibe of the classroom, the um the 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 undercurrent of the classroom, all of this ties into the foundation and the framework. And it's your foundation and framework of your classroom is what's going to save you and your students when things get rough. Because as we know, life is life. Life be lifing sometimes. And it's the same way in a pre-K classroom. There's some awesome days and amazing days. And then there's some other days that are not so great, that are not so great. So, I just want to encourage you as you are planning and as you are preparing and getting yourself ready, please, please, please think about the foundation. What foundational core values is your classroom going to be built on? And what is the framework that you're going to use in order to teach that to your students? All right, I hope you found this helpful, and I will talk to you guys again soon.